Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. I want to give you something completely for free. So if you just go to upgrademyfundraising.com, upgrademyfundraising.com, I want to be able to provide you a 5-day course via email that all you have to do is open your email, read the email for 3 minutes a day for 5 days consecutively. And it's going to transform how you approach fundraising, how you approach giving, and how you approach leadership. I can almost guarantee it. It's our experience in working with organizations around the world, and we want to be able to invite you on this journey with us. But look, it's 3:00, and I am so excited to have this conversation. I'm ready for this one. I really am. You know, I've had a conversation with both of the women that will be coming up, and man, Kari, you are a rock star. Like, you are a rock star, and Lakisha, she has some perspectives and some ideologies that I feel like are going to ruffle some people's feathers, but I believe that it's going to be such an amazing dialogue. So once they get their camera situated and I can see them, I'm going to bring them up really quickly, because this session explores how to confidently and authentically make major gift requests. Like, how do you ask for money? Everybody wants to get money, but nobody's really comfortable asking for opportunities, asking for the person that you actually like to go out with you, asking that major company to sponsor your initiative. And I'm so excited for this conversation because it's not just about how to ask, it's also what are the various things that need to happen internally that we can prepare so that we can be in position to have some of these fluid relationships and conversations as well. So I'm not going to spend too much time just talking about how excited I am. I'm just going to bring these two amazing people up. Let's do it. Kari, there she is. Lakisha.
Hello.
Hello, ladies. How are y'all doing?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I am amazing. Wonderful. Can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all see me okay?
Yes.
I feel like, it's interesting because most people that would be doing a stream all day would be worried about like their energy levels and all these different things. But my biggest thing preparing for this was Wi-Fi. I just wanted to make sure that my picture was clean and that my Wi-Fi wasn't pixelated and spotty. Right. So I have literally like an Ethernet cable connecting all the way like downstairs and around the corner. It's the most interesting thing, but you just got to work with it because I owed the audience a powerful experience. So I appreciate both of you coming on. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you both. And there's like 4 decades of knowledge here. And I'm not trying to tell age. I promise. That was like, it sounded better in my head.
Listen,
it sounded much better in my head. But I want to be able, before we get into all of the great questions that you'll be able to answer today, can you just introduce yourself without sharing any titles? And if you were to introduce yourself, somebody would be able to know what you did without you sharing what you did. Ooh, this should be fun.
Oh. It's a tricky one.
So whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll start, I guess, if that's okay. I'm Kari McCormick. I'm excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me. I caught the tail end of the other conversation, which was great, learning about authenticity, which is a major thing. And I'm glad, I hope these are recording because I hope I can go back and watch some of them.
It is.
It sounds like you had some good conversations, but if I had to describe what I do, I feel like I get to the heart of what matters. And in addition, which really doesn't go to that, I feel like a matchmaker.
I like that. That's good. I like that. All right, let's do it.
So hi, Lakisha, Rios, and definitely excited to be here. I love your introduction of me, Kyle. I was like, oh, I wonder what I am going to say. But if I had to describe kind of what I've done, what I do, it would be someone who has a creative and innovative approach to building community, to advocating for community, to seeing people, not just in their representation and what they bring to the table, right? And our representative we bring to the table, putting our best foot forward, but just seeing people for who they are and the value that they bring, and sometimes bringing out things that they didn't realize was valuable.
We've had a lot of conversations today, and one of the most powerful quotes that I've heard today is, it goes back to an earlier conversation about the importance of being more without doing more. And that present-centered leadership gives us the ability to be able to transform our teams. Like, it's about presence before performance. And I believe that when we step into our ability to be a matchmaker, and when we step into our gifts, our talents, and our abilities to kind of take things outward so that we can be able to make it better, I want to be able to have a little bit of fun at the beginning of this conversation. I want to switch some things up. Okay. Why not?
That's right.
So, Kari, if you were matching Lakisha with anything, how would you do it? Like, how would you approach? I want to have like a tag team. You two are kind of going back and forth dialogue so that you can understand what you do, and whoever gets to the title of what that person does first wins. Let's do it. I don't have really rules, but I kind of want to just see how the dialogue would go for a second.
So if I'm getting to know Lakisha, I want to know, I'm going to have a lot of questions and be very curious about your life in general. Like, what brings you excitement? What are things that, one of my favorites is, if you could do this in your sleep, right? Like, it's something that you love, you don't get paid for it, but it's something you're so passionate about. What are those things? What are those things that excite you?
And I think are you asking me to respond?
Oh, no, this is happening.
I didn't know. I was, coming back with a question. That brings me excitement. If I could do it in my sleep, I think doing anything. I am a creative at heart, and I guess I'll kind of share that piece.
Absolutely.
Dance has been something that's always been a part of what I do, but I've also had this kind of, which also brings community, right? It is about engaging. It's about trusting others. Can be a very individualistic art form in some capacities, but it is also about trusting the one next to you, trusting people coming in, building this connection. Yeah. And especially when you go into the world of cultural dance, right? Which is something I currently do as well, that it is bigger than self. It is about a larger community. It is respecting the traditions of that community, which you may or may not be a part of, and understanding your space in that sense as well, when to kind of back up and just observe and respect, and when you are invited into that space. And I think that has translated into what I do as well, right? I really enjoy being in spaces, kind of seeing people be their best, seeing people be happy about what they're doing, enjoying what they're doing, really have a heart and passion for what they're doing. So if I can have fun, if I can kind of be able to share, and that it is a very reciprocal experience. It always feels good coming out of it, where I can learn and you can learn as well, void of title, void of status in every way imaginable, but just really being able to come together and experience each other.
So I'm excited to hear about dance. Can you tell me a little bit more about, like, were you a dancer when you were young? Were you a dancer, I mean, all growing up as you got older? Like, tell me more about that.
All the above.
Okay.
So started dancing when I was 4.
Okay.
It basically started from a wedding I went to, family member's wedding. And my mother was like, no, we will not go through life looking like this. We're going to take you to dance class. But I was excited and had all the energy and just was loving whatever I was doing. And I look back on the video now and I'm like, what in the world? Thank you. I appreciate you. And that continued, right?
Kids on the dance floor are the best because they're like uninhibited.
Yes, we were enjoying our lives. My family was kind of like mortified as to what was happening on the floor. And I ended up going to dance school, really enjoying it to the point that my sister decided she no longer wanted to do it, but I continued, and well beyond my friends. Went to high school for it. LaGuardia High School Performing Arts, LAG, in Manhattan, New York.
And do you mind me asking if there's a certain style of dance you liked more? Like, were you drawn to one versus another, or
modern?
Okay.
I just like the structure, but also the freedom that there was in it.
Okay.
And enjoyed it more when I got to, in a different way, when I got to high school.
Okay.
And kind of really learned a different style and technique. And that turned into going to college for it.
Nice.
And getting a degree in it. And just that, I mean, that's kind of where that piece came in, and it still lives on today. I primarily do West African. I'm a part of a West African dance company here in Charlotte, and
to see that.
will still perform and take classes on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Now, Kari, first, I'm using some of these techniques. What were you looking for?
So I'm looking for, well, first, especially because I'm jumping into this, there's no background from my job. Like, I can't connect to anything. So I'm looking for to find out what excites her, what is, I want to learn all about her and be curious, find out anything. And what I'm looking for that spark of something that's she's truly passionate about. So anybody I meet is, where do I find that person can keep talking and they're smiling and they're so excited? And when I find that, it's then trying to align that and see in my position now, is there something, do we have a mission where we're at, or an investment area that aligns with somebody's passion, where down the road we can explore that? But I'm looking for what excites the person I'm with, what speaks to their heart.
That's good. That's good. Now, Lakisha, your turn. Let's do it.
All right. So, Kari, understanding time is a commodity, right? It's something we can't get back. I'm curious, if time was not wasn't anything you were concerned about, if money wasn't anything you were concerned about, cost, if you could do what you loved every day, for free, what would that thing or things be, and with whom?
Good question. So I'm initially drawn to travel, which I'm sure is an answer, but it's one of the things that I did a lot through my childhood. And after college, I worked abroad, and I just love exploring new places and meeting new people. And if there was a whole bunch of money in my bank account and a job, I would absolutely love to be exploring so many different areas that I haven't been able to visit yet.
And what about the exploring piece or meeting new people kind of excites you? Like, what are you drawn to?
When I'm there, it's just like you learn so much about just things that are different than me and different areas and what's important. And I really love hearing that. Like when I lived overseas for a while and would meet all these different people, like, I don't know, learning their customs, learning their connections, and how they live their life has just always been something that's resonated with me, I guess, or makes me feel complete. I don't know, and energizes me. And I miss doing that. I definitely don't get to do it as much as I used to.
So it seems like you've kind of got this travel bug as a young child. Who instilled that in you? Like, was it something that your parents talked about or kind of just took you to?
You know what? It's funny. My family, we took small trips, but we didn't do large, trips overseas. The first time I ever was able to travel overseas was right after college. By myself with a friend of mine from school, not by myself, with a friend from school. And we did a work abroad. And it's just, I don't know, from when I was little, it was just something that I always thought about. I'd see pictures of different areas and see people and places and things I've never seen. And that really had me gain an interest. And I will say that when I went to college, I took an random class, art and architecture, which really had nothing to do with my major, but I was in it and I got to learn the history of the building and the building structures and how they made these churches and how they made these amazing things. And I just was fascinated by it. And I was like, gosh, I really want to see those in person too. So that probably further heightened my excitement. Yeah. And I love traveling. I don't know if I would pick one person, but my one best friend of mine is just similar in travel style. And when you travel, you definitely want to be with somebody that has the same kind of style as you do. Where when you're out there, are you the scheduled one? Are you the more adventurous one? And my friend's very similar in that we both are we like to plan, but we like a loose plan, and are more the adventurous of kind of fly by the seat of our pants too. So that to me makes it even better.
Oh yeah. Very, very important. Yes. And I'm slightly jealous because I've always wanted to live abroad and just kind of be immersed in the culture and just experience it in that way. How does that show up today in your being here? Because you're not living abroad, and how does that show up in your work with just engaging new cultures, new experiences?
I think it goes back to why I love what I do. It's getting to genuinely know people and understand their life, where they've come from, what they see in their future, and where they want to make an impact. All of that comes into the roles I feel like that we serve. And that's why I love what I do.
Lakisha, what are you looking for?
I am trying to figure out the spark, right? What is the thing? There's a love and a passion for new, meeting people, being immersed in cultures, experiencing new things. And traveling abroad is very different than traveling locally, right? You're kind of meeting, there are new experiences, there are different things you'll never, if you go across the country, right? But being somewhere else in a place where it is not your native culture, it is not what you know, makes you step back and you kind of have to observe. And so now translating that into possibly the work that she does or how she approaches work, you kind of have to take that same approach, right? You have to take a step back and really kind of listen and learn and watch and observe what's around you, what's being said, because you may be missing clues or nuances, right? And it takes time to kind of figure that out. So I am trying to see the connection and how that experience and love really translate, even though it may not make any sense on the surface, but underlying kind of what is she saying without saying it.
Anybody listening in, I wanted to be able to create an activity and an engagement so that you can watch what the initial engagement oftentimes look like when we're building relationship. Both of them said, I'm trying to find a spark. Kari said, I'm looking for spark, what makes people smile, and then that passion that they have to continue to keep that conversation going. Both of them are leveraging the conversation, or really leaning into the conversation to identify alignment opportunities, but they cannot figure out where the alignment is if they're not listening to each other, communicate. So we have to be active listeners. Now, I appreciate you both so much for even indulging me in doing that activity on the spot. So now can we talk about the work that you do and how you're changing people's lives in the work that you do?
Sure. I don't know if you want to jump in. I so apologize. They decided they wanted to mow the grass and do lawn care on my block today.
Oh, good.
So if
Kari,
you hear something.
Kari, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So, I mean, for me, we're looking for the impact that they want to create. And we're looking for, like when we're talking about what really matters to people, where do they, you find what they align with, like what do they want to be involved with? Is it a programming for me? Is it helping a person or a student? Is it helping a space? What is it where they want to make that impact, and what do they want to grow from that? I'm sorry, I got a little interference here too, so I may have only heard part of your question, just to preface that.
Yeah.
And there's the mowing.
Just to recap really quickly for both of you, as we actually get into it, what is the work that you do? Now we can use the titles. And how are you leveraging that work to be able to transform other people?
How are we leveraging that work to transform other people? Well, for where I'm at, I am trying to create the number one student experience, and I'm not creating it, but we are trying to create the number one student experience. And how do we do that? We're going to look for people that have been here, had an impactful time while they were here, and want to help grow that mission even more. Well, maybe that the next person or student coming through here will have an even better experience. But once we find, whether it's for us, like if we're looking at well-being on a whole, and we're meeting with donors that maybe when they were here had a time that somebody intervened on their behalf to help them emotionally and went through a program. And then we're bettering the lives. And when we're bettering the lives here, once they get out into the real world as well and into their careers, we hope that push that serves forward too. If I'm making sense, if I'm articulating that correctly.
Oh, no, definitely. Lakisha, what about you?
I would say with the work that I do, working in leadership development spaces, whether that's with executives or that's with students, college students, and trying to find career paths and connections with their experience and getting to the next level, I'd say I leverage what I do in terms of transforming people to make sure that it is what it's centered on, what it's based in, the values, and that we are not just speaking great things, but people within your organization can actually feel it. They understand it, right? And that you are creating an environment internally that will then be felt in ripple effect externally. We often are trying to figure out, how do we provide great opportunities? How do we provide great services to our clients? And often kind of forget, are we doing that internally? Whether it's a one-man show that you are doing this, solopreneur, or you have team members, and how are you cultivating that, right? It's hard to kind of do a switch. It's hard to kind of be one way internally and be one way externally. And whether that is doing that with your organization, or that students kind of translating that from the classroom experience or a webinar or a seminar experience into, how do I now take the values and the skill set and the systems that I'm learning within class or on campus as a student leader and translate that into being a really productive and valuable team member when I go into the workforce. And so I am kind of helping in that gap, in that transition, as well as if I'm just helping an organization kind of figure out, how do you streamline, how do you really create great leaders and real leadership within your organization, looking through that lens before we even get to let's talk about the work we're kind of translating or updating some of the tactics that you're using or want me to kind of review.
Of course. Kari, this question's for you. What kind of research or preparation do you do before making a major gift ask? And how do you tailor that specific research individually to the donor experience?
Well, pretty much for research, I mean, you have to be very strategic. I always say you have to be strategic, you have to be a storyteller and kind of part counselor, right? Like you're a little bit of all those pieces. So prior, it's just when I know that I'm going to meet with somebody that has an interest, I am going to research everything from the history here to what they do in their career field to even giving history. So as much information as I can find out first. And then I always look at, like, when I leave that conversation, what it was my goal, like what did I want to accomplish from that meeting? So kind of work backwards, just like you would in life, right? If you have a goal, you know, like this is where I want to get, how am I going to get there? So from all of that research before the meeting, so when I go there, I can already have a little bit plan of some specific questions I may want to ask to start the conversation, of course. So of course there is all of that research. And then as the conversation develops and you have that meeting and you start identifying things that they do seem to get excited about, or there's a spark, then you're taking that and you're saying, is there something where I'm at where that aligns?
Exactly.
And then we're going to, again, start cultivating that and look into, and the next process of how am I going to explain that more in depthly? How am I going to get them involved to see it? What are the other pieces I can connect them to? Because it's not just me. When a donor learns about it and they're excited and they come and they see something or they talk to somebody else, that's part of that. We get more excitement. We get a little bit more of that passion showing up before we ever get to the end of the line. And the end of the line, it really, to me, never stops. Because even if they become a donor, you know, the process afterwards continues on through stewardship and the impact that they created.
Of course. And this is going to be a twofold question, Lakisha. I'm interested in you answering this one. And the work that you do, like, how do you, I know that you mentioned earlier that you work and consult with organizations on how to approach their own organizational goals and effectiveness as well. How do you do that work? Let's say I'm an organization that wants to work with you, that wants to implement this work. Where do you start, or where would I start in implementing the various results that you provide for organizations?
I think it's the same, in some respects, it's the same way that you would approach an outside organization, right? And you're going to make that ask. One, understanding your organization, knowing who your people are, knowing what they do, knowing what where they're at right now, especially if there's some change happening within the organization. Most times people fail to do that level of work. They fail to kind of think from that lens. They assume they know. And kind of, have you asked? Have you done any surveys? Like, what are the people saying? And taking a really honest look at it and kind of sitting with it, digesting it, to kind of see, are you meeting the people's needs? Are you where you think you are? Do they think you're doing what you say you're doing? And not trying to kind of massage it and make it feel like it is, or it's right, or you're doing it, like really getting an honest feedback. And then kind of sitting with it and go, what does it say to you? What are you seeing? Especially coming from as an outsider, of when I went to your website, this is what I thought your organization did, or this is what I assumed it did. When I asked around, these are what people were saying to me. Exactly. You're telling me something different. There's a disconnect. And so if I am speaking to your employees and they're saying something different too, there's the through line is missing. The thread is missing. We are missing the mark. And some of it is a heavy lift, right? Some of it is just, we haven't revamped what we've said we do or how we are going to do it in a really long time. Some of it is we did, but we just haven't communicated it right. Or people are not moving and doing it in the manner in which we assume they are. And so it's ensuring that from the top down, the messaging is clear, the messaging is the same, but also as you kind of get to some of those, you get through the line, understanding what it takes to do the work that you say that you're doing, and is there disconnect in that?
Of course. And we're going to do a quick rapid fire exercise. I'll put me in the middle because I'm going to go left and then I'm going to go right. And then I'm going to go left and then I'm going to go right. So this should be pretty fun. Kari, to my left, what's one strategy you would teach a new fundraiser to make them more confident in their ask?
I always say just be curious and be authentic. And I don't know if that's a strategy, but it's so real. Like, I think, like, get out of your head and just be like, if you're in a normal conversation, how would you ask? What do you want to know? Because once you have that in the nerves, like if you're new and you're nervous about meeting people, like plan it out first, and that might give you a good starting point. So maybe that's what I would say, like map out your questions, do your research. So when you walk in the first time, you at least feel mentally prepared so you can naturally have some of those questions start flowing, and then the nerves will ease, and then hopefully the conversation will develop naturally.
That's good. Lakisha, it's on you. Different question.
Okay.
I'm ready for y'all. When you think about the work that you do, what is one strategy that organizations can implement so that they can be more effective? Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program.
Believe the data.
Talk more.
Believe the data. I think many times organizations do their follow-ups, they do their surveys, they, try to find out, did it work? Did we hit the target audience? Did we provide the services that we said we were going to provide? Did they feel they gotten value for their money? And many times we don't believe the data. We believe, well, we did it, they just didn't understand, or we did our best. And kind of just doing that follow-up, doing the debrief, saying what you did well, what you could have done better, how do we make it better the next time? And finding, okay, where did we fall off, and trying to show your team that you appreciated the effort. Calling out doesn't mean degrading, right? Calling out and saying, okay, we missed the mark, who was responsible for this? And if you created the environment where people feel safe enough to speak up and say, hey, this happened and I dropped the ball here, but I was trying to fix it on the back end. It wasn't obvious to the client, but on the back end, we knew what was happening. And I put these strategies in place. I put these procedures in place to make sure that it doesn't happen. It is helpful, and it creates it creates the environment internally that says, I'm allowed to be human. I'm allowed to make a mistake and own it. And then, but I know that I will have help figuring out how to make sure that we don't get there to that place again. But listening to the feedback and really kind of sitting with it, and not continuing to make the same mistakes or do the same thing again if it didn't work, if the audience that you are trying to service hasn't received it well.
Of course. Kari, it's back to you.
Okay.
Walk us through your process from first meeting to final ask. And in your experience, which steps consistently make the biggest impact?
Okay. So first step would be discovery, what we call discovery. It's, learning about the prospective donor, what excites them, all of that history. So and discovery to me is usually one, sometimes two meetings, depending on how far you get along in that conversation, before you decide, have we found something? Is there a spark? And is there something aligned that we can move forward? And then the next one would be we call qualifying. Is this the right time for them too? Because timing can be things too. Where are they in life? If they're passionate about that, are they ready to learn more? Is this something down the road that, we just want to put in our back pocket for later? So we want to qualify, and then cultivation. And cultivation can last, I always say, depending on how, what priorities you're talking about and how in depth we're getting for things, that can last, sometimes 6 months, sometimes longer. I've had a range depending on how ready those people are. Right? But again, and cultivation's where that real work of really, really getting to the inside is, and introducing them to the right partners and the right people, and make sure you understand. After cultivation, I always get to kind of our ask and our proposal. So setting up our proposals, making sure they're aligned. I always say there should be no surprises when you get to the ask. I should have already realized where the capacity is. I want to sit down and it's just a natural flow into the ask, because we've already spent a lot of time figuring out where we're going, what that amount looks like, the impact they want to make. So we sit down with that. And again, it's just a natural flow into the ask. And after the ask, one of my favorite parts to me is the stewardship piece. And sometimes I know that I hope it's not forgotten, but it's so important, because when donors are giving from their heart and they're giving money to an organization, to something, they're not getting a physical object in return. They want to know where did I transform something? Did I help a student? Did I help a program? Where did it grow? And it's that continued, and to see, like when you, especially like say it's a scholarship, and you're showing them, sometimes they can meet the scholarship recipient and the excitement they feel that, wow, I really helped this individual, hearing the stories, or coming and touring the new building and seeing the space they created and the students using the space and the clubs that are meeting there. So that stewardship phase, the last one, but I always say the most important and the one that continues on, to me is what really, really speaks to me, and I kind of gets to the heart of everything.
I love that. What do you think is the hardest step in that process, Kari?
So it used to be, and this is for me, I guess people could be different, but I always felt like I would get into a friend zone. Because I like meeting, and I love getting to know them, and we're helping them. They've got, and sometimes I'm working with parents that have students here as well. And it's like making that shift. So I've had to be very intentional about and go back and really look at the questions and making sure I'm 100% transparent all the time through of what my role is. Like, even though I'm getting to know them on a more like intimate level about what's really important, knowing that, this is my role and this is what I'm trying to do. That was the most challenging thing for me to work through, I guess I would say, for that.
What did you do to work through that?
I had to really go back. I'm intentional in my outreach, like basically like even that initial one of being 100% like, this is what I do. And then sometimes what I've had to do as well, which I still do, is kind of what I always say, like kind of reset the dialogue. Like when I meet with them, like, hey, let's review what we talked about last time. Like I wouldn't say that, but last time we spoke about, that you were really excited about learning more about this space, and kind of almost giving a agenda before I start the conversation at that meeting. So making sure that I can hit all those agenda points I told them we were going to talk about as we sit here for an hour.
I hear a lot of that, and that's the reason why you're in leadership. It's that growth, it's that understanding of the process, it's that cultivation process, and it's similar to the work that Lakisha is doing as well. And Lakisha, this next question is for you. What advice would you give to emerging leaders about integrating strategic thinking, let's say partnership building, and equity focused leadership?
Say in terms of the partnership building piece
Mm-hmm.
is kind of got to know when to pivot, right? I think many of us go into conversations, and depending on your previous experience, you're either going in kind of full throttle, and it's like, whoa, back up. I don't know who you are yet. And in leveraging that relationship, and realizing it is an exchange.
Yeah.
And there are some people that already know you're coming to them because you have an ask.
Mm-hmm.
And that may not be monetary ask. It may be your social capital, maybe your access ask, or just your network. And so they're already expecting it, but it feels different when you come just kind of, hey, I'm actually curious about what you do, where you're from. We may have some similarities in different things. We may have kids who are in the same age group, and how have you handled that? Or your kids may be older or younger, and I need advice on that. And that starts to genuine your relationship. And you get a lot further when you can find a common thread, even if your circles may have never crossed. But you are intentional about building and developing that relationship. And so kind of being real with yourself first and honest with yourself about what do you want out of this? And how do you believe that they can help you? And once you kind of engage and interact with them, stating that, like, hey, I need a mentor. I'm really looking for someone to mentor me. I'm really looking for someone who can kind of share with me their knowledge and information about this space that I would love to be in or within this industry. And just kind of, I may be new to the city. I may be new to this field. People love to help more than you assume they do. Even if the spaces are tight and the opportunities are minimal, people love to kind of share what they do and talk about themselves and share what they've learned in ways that I think we sometimes think they are gatekeeping, and not everyone is. So once you figure that piece out, but then also realizing, and I definitely have been in spaces where I've had to state this beforehand, or I've had to realize for my own self, people are not a monolith. And so you wanting to kind of be in a space, making sure that the space that you're in, if you get there and you realize there's only one of, and one of, count the many one of things, how are you being intentional about ensuring that the space feels welcoming, that you are inviting new people into that space that do not look like you, haven't been where you've been, don't know what you know, or don't have access to what you have access to, but bring value to it? And are you continuing to make them feel like they belong in it, asking them what they need, asking them what would make them feel like they belong? What happened in spaces that you were in previously that didn't make you feel like you belonged? And not to be nosy, but to really understand what was the thing. Was there one thing, or were there many things? Have I been a part of cultivating that and I didn't know it? I didn't recognize it. And again, not making them the monolith or the resident expert in it, but really just being curious about it. I think just having diversity of thought, diversity of experience really just brings a wealth of value to whatever you are doing. I would say I want to make sure that I am not the smartest person in the room, that I have other people who are filling the gaps, the things that I don't know, the things that I can't get to, the things that I have no reach for, that I want to fill those spaces with people who do, because we are all now learning from each other. And I'm going to continue to help you grow just as you're going to help me grow.
I appreciate that so much, Kari. This reminds me of something I wanted to bring up in the conversation about objections, right? Because we're always met with some type of barrier, some type of hesitation, some type of objection. How do you handle objections, hesitations, or sensitive topics during a major gift conversation?
Yeah. Well, I think first and most importantly is really listen and make sure that they feel heard, that you have heard what their objection is or what they're upset about. Acknowledge it. If they're upset about something and there's next steps to take, like do those, and so that they understand that you really care about whatever is on their mind or upsetting them, and you're going to take the steps to overcome that. If it's an objection about, like, listen, the ones that I get a lot are, I don't know if there's enough, I can give enough to make the impact I want. And then, yeah, you hear that, but let's break it down. Okay, let's break down what impact would you get for this? And really look at the numbers to show them that you're still going to make an impact. No matter what that size is, you're still affecting the lives of the students here, and you're still growing that mission, and really sitting that down. So again, with objections, understand it, hear them, and just don't try to jump too quickly past it into the conversation back up money. Feel valued, heard, close up any gaps that you see before resuming the conversation to overcome it. And I also believe in being 100% transparent that's one of my biggest things. If there's something we can't get past, let's say somebody, I've had a donor that had a great experience, but their child had some issues and some things they were working through. And it's just being transparent about where we're at and can we get past that? And it's okay. If we can't, it's okay. But let's have an honest conversation of what we're doing to try to get to where we want to get to.
Let me ask you both this question. What's a personal habit or a routine that keeps you grounded yet effective in the work that you do that you'd like to share with others?
Grounded and effective. Well, I think what keeps me grounded goes to when I see the difference that people have made. And I realize, like, sometimes we can get caught up in like numbers and what we want to make and what we need to do. And then when you take a step back and you really see something come to fruition, or you see the tears of a child that was able to come to school that wouldn't have been able to be here for it, that really keeps me grounded in what I'm doing and the work I'm doing. And then it helps me, I think, probably become more effective down the road because I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. But strategically, I do try to get up early. I'm not a morning person, but I have found that getting up at least an hour before I come here, that helps me become effective when I can knock out some things before I get in.
I love it. What about you, Lakisha?
I think it is something I've had to think through differently in the last year. More so than I did in the last 5 years, right? Just kind of reevaluating and switching gears. And I think even more so with the board's work that I do currently, I've had to remind myself, one, I belong in the space. I've earned the right to be here. I've done the work to be here, and I don't have to quantify or qualify myself with others, right? And it's kind of a level setting space. I used to say, dealing with imposter syndrome. And I remember hearing someone say, imposters don't believe that they can't do it. That's the whole point of an imposter. They believe that they are who they say they are, even if they aren't who they say they are, right? And so we've kind of twisted that term and made it into something else. And so I've had to kind of remind myself, no, you belong in this space. And so what power do you bring to it? It's also the things you speak to and you challenge people with the work you do. And so kind of reflecting the mirror back on self of what you do and who you are and how you show up matters. And I think in the being effective piece is owning it, right? Being honest about it sometimes, that where you are in the space, but also being reminded of the power in the work and the work ethic and all the things, the resilience, all the things that got you here, that you are going to need to get you to the next space in some way or another. And what additional tools do you need to put in your toolbox as you go along? And what are some things that you need to put to the side because they are no longer useful in this season? And so just constantly reminding myself of that. In some days and some seasons, it's not as much of kind of having to say that. You just walk in with confidence, knowing that, you're here. And now how do I be effective? And so it is figuring out, because they're not always equal. The balance, it's a balancing act that is never equal. In some ways you are trying to maintain the effectiveness, and how do I be effective in this space? Because I know that I can do what I'm called to do here. And balancing it.
Kari, if you could give somebody a piece of advice that would have helped you earlier on in your career, if you would have known that, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say, for me, I think I got caught up in and I'm going to piggyback off what Lakisha said about imposter syndrome, because I think that's a real thing for some of us, especially when we're starting something new. We feel we're not good enough. I mean, that's how I did. Like, oh my gosh, when I first started out, I haven't done this. And so I love your definition of that. So thank you for that. Anyway, it's just reminding us that we are here for a reason, and there's skills that people saw in us, even if we're just starting out, that they see are going to make us successful. But for that advice, I would just say, don't look so much, because we all have these metrics that we're judged by at the end of the year. And I think, and I got in my head of like having to reach this goal. And I want to remember, and people say that don't, like, yeah, you got to remember that and know that that's there. But if you really just focus on being true to yourself, being authentic, and building those relationships, because relationships will ultimately build trust, and that trust will build that generosity. And in the end, you will make it, but focus on that and don't lose sight of that, because that's always been important to me. But I feel like it's easy to kind of lose sight of that when you first start out and you're not as confident and you're looking at things you're going to be measured by, and realizing that's not why we do what we do. We do it because of the impact and how it makes us feel, and remembering to build those. So,
Lakisha, same question. What's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self that you wish you would have learned?
A pivot is okay. A transition is okay. Some pivots are larger than others, but it doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it just means you finally got it, or it was time to change. Like, you needed this piece of the story. You needed this piece of your experience, the work that you've done, in order to do the next thing. It may not make sense. It may not make sense to others, but it's necessary. And so don't get lost or kind of a little dazed by how do these things work.
Of course.
It's going to, and it's never too late. It's never too late. I remember telling myself at 24, I'm too old to go back and finish my degree. And I believed that for a long time. Yeah. And I worked in different ways to do it, but it felt like it never would happen. Yeah. And multiple degrees in between, certificates, all the things in between. But the day I crossed the stage with my actual undergrad was almost 20 years difference. And old me would have been like, what the hell? Why did it take so long? What are you doing? But life was happening, and all of that experience, all of that time in the middle has served me in what I now do. Now I use that to speak to the things. And had I not had that, I wouldn't be able to speak to adult students in the way that I've been able to speak to adult learners. For those who have transitioned, I wouldn't be able to have the conversations that I've had. And so, yeah, just like, it's all useful. It may not feel it in the moment, but it will all be useful. What are you going to do with it?
That is, both of your perspectives are very enlightening. And for anybody listening, and again, whether you're listening to the live or the recording, I want you to take one conversation that you're nurturing and think about how you can deepen trust. I want you to take one relationship that you're building, and I want you to align your approach with purpose. I want you to make your ask, whatever that ask is, both confident and authentic. And remember that the most transformative contributions that we can make in life are when relationship, vision, values, leadership, and just moral character intersect. And ladies, you've reminded us that when we approach fundraising and mission-driven organizations with intentionality, with equity, and with care, we don't just secure major gifts, we create lasting impact in the people that we were supporting. So I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for inspiring us to lead with heart, for leading with strategy, but then also being courageous. Where can people find you all online?
Well, definitely on LinkedIn. You can find me under Lakisha Rios currently, just for kind of anything that I have been working on. And staying connected there is probably the best way right now to do that.
Perfect.
Yep. Same for me. LinkedIn is probably the best way to find me and stay connected.
Perfect. Ladies, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture Podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.